Hey traders, welcome back to our daily trade journal and market analysis, where I try to journal every session, not just for accountability, but because it helps me spot patterns and mistakes faster. Study shows that you're 3 times more likely to improve when you journal daily, so it's a habit I highly recommend if you want to level up your trading. And then at the end of the video, we'll do our market analysis to go over the current condition of the market and what we think are major levels and what could happen in the market. So if you want to skip to that, feel free to skip toward the later part of the video. So for today, uh, market was a little bit rough. I was down negative $267. It was quite a roller coaster actually. There was times I was up in the market and I was down in the market and then I was up again in the market, and then I was down again in the market and I was up again and then I was down again. So after that last time that I lost money, I was like, oh, you know what? Like, this is way too many times I'm taking a loss in a day. And there were also other parts of the day where I had orders at places, but it just didn't hit. And they would miss it by just a tiny bit. So that like really triggered me a lot. But in hindsight, looking back, let's see. Actually, let me see when I stepped away from the market. I stepped away around 2:16. So I stepped away around here. But in hindsight, looking back, I could see like the levels that we drew yesterday was very effective. If I stay around till later on, where I sit over here, if we lose this level, right, this is a major level at 6409. If we lose that level, we could come back to, we can chop to this level here. If we lose this level, then we're pretty bearish, and you can see like this level here struggling a little bit, and then eventually it went down, and then it came back up, and it went down some more. So it just stayed under that bearish level. So right now we're in a pretty bearish market, as long as we're under that level. But I'll go a little bit more into the signal as well and what happened today and what was driving us nuts. So the other thing that happened today was that I noticed the market structure did not work again today. So 9 a.m. market structure was bullish. So that means we want to buy the dip. So that was around over here. Market was already at MOB. So you want to go long here. I went long. Market open, crossed that long, got stopped out. Then 9:30 we had an X7 sell signal. So X7 sell signals, we really get that. That's a bigger time frame sell signal. That's usually very strong, very effective, and that sell signal is telling us to short the market, and it's expecting a down move toward end of the day. That's usually what the X7 sell signal means. So then by 9:32, bullish market structure could cancel, and if I had just taken these shorts here, which I did take some shorts there based on the X7 signal, but I didn't take it for a long drive where I should have, and I couldn't make enough money, so I was just breaking even, give or take. So I lost money here, then made money here, and then lost some more money here. So then 11:40, we had our first buy signal that was over here at 64.20. That kind of worked out. We went to as high as 64.35. So we're getting 15-point range moves in days today, where usually these signals would have only been like a 5-point move, 10-point move. And then by 12:40, we had our first sell signal here, and that was a forewarning before we started going down more. But as we had that sell signal, in the middle of that sell signal, we had a 1 1 p.m. we had market structure flipping bullish, which is also a false signal at this point, where market makers are just driving just enough buy volume to trick the algos and us into thinking that there is more buyers than sellers in the market, and then bam, right after that signal occurs, just like from here to here, 10-15 minutes later, they just start driving the selling volume because they know people will be coming in to buy. And they drew it past this line too. And this line is a huge line. The white line is a huge trend line we draw from last few days. And it was working extremely well. But it just goes to show that market maker is in the market, and they're extremely smart and slick today, and they're just doing a lot of different things. They're changing the playbook a little bit. So eventually 155, we got our first buy signal somewhere around here in this range. uh, I would say it wouldn't play out unless you had a huge stop loss. So that was somewhere here. And that was at 63.87. We went as low as 63.66. So this is a 20-point drop, only to recover to 403. So yeah, could you have made money if you held endlessly? Yeah, you could, but most people's stop loss wouldn't have been big enough to take that play. So I would say that last signal also didn't play out, and we probably lost money as well. So this signal didn't play out. um, so it was like 3 out of 6 today, somewhat. Pretty disappointing day, but I'll show you something else. If we look into some of the bigger time frames, you'll see that the manipulation is pretty high here. If you're any sort of a technical analyst in any way and you're good at reading charts and you're understanding trend lines, support lines, and things like that, then you'll see a lot of invalidations, and I'll show you here why. So this is a huge trend line here yesterday, or that's been building for the last few days, right? So when this trend line pops up, and that's built from here, and then we got a rejection here and somewhat of a rejection here and also another rejection here, right? So that show you that trend line is extremely effective. And then Microsoft out of nowhere, so keep in mind this is a bearish trend line, we're going downwards. So going downwards. So then Microsoft earnings, one of the best earnings, pop really well, carry the market up. And so Microsoft's still green from that earnings, by the way. And Meta also had an extremely great earnings, 11% move for a stock that's over $700, right? Um, and that carried the market up, and it pushed the market up so high up here. And then eventually it we started selling overnight. But if most people were in the market, they were probably going to short this area because they're not expecting overnight market to be pushing to new all-time highs. We rarely get new all-time highs in overnight markets. We usually get it in market hours. But anyways, market decided like, hey, let's go. We're gonna make a new all-time high. We're gonna carry the stop loss above 10 and just enough to stop everybody out. We push the stop loss to 12.5%. So that's huge market manipulation there. Pushing that stop loss above 10 points to 12.5 points. That's just enough to break most people's overnight stop loss, because who in the world would be wide enough to have that high of a stop loss overnight if they were shorting, right? So then eventually that happens. And then in the morning, we tested that again, giving people a chance to think it can go higher. And then huge pullback, huge flush in the morning, come to test the trend line here, right? But instead of actually reacting really well to it, we don't. We just drop like 15 plus points under the trend line. So just enough to break any stop loss that is trying to buy this trend line, right? Which was me too. And then we pushed up, looking like at this point now, you're seeing the candle close above the trend line. So then in theory, trend line is holding because these candles here have closed above the trend line. So we're pretty good, right? And then as we're starting to climb back up here, we started rejecting this 10-minute moving average here, and then it just flushes it. But it doesn't even do any bounce at the trend line. It doesn't even do a double bottom bounce here. It just keeps going down and flushes it. And now this new line here has flipped from support to resistance, and we reject it here, and now we carry new low, right? But we don't even stop at this low as it did here. We went up going under more just to break more stop loss. That's enough to keep breaking stop loss. It's a pretty wild day. I would say it's very interesting. We're still not really 100% sure where direction is going to go, but I'll show you on the daily time frame what I see. And this could be a bearish trader's wet dream. Any bearish trader seeing this is going to be like, oh my, because now you have some bunch of dojis, right? And dojis are good. Doji means indecision in the market, and it means the trend can reverse. So what has the trend been? The trend has been going up because we've been making the all-time highs. Market has been moving upwards, right? So now when you see dojis like this, that gives the possibility that we can go back and pull back further, because these drops may have seemed big to us intraday because we have made such big highs, but realistically they weren't big drops at all. They weren't like these 1 to 2% day drops. Today was only a 0.10% day, you know, negative 0.10 day. On SPY it was a negative 0.38 day, right? 0.38 day. So it was less than 1%, less than half a percent kind of day for people that are trading during active market hours. So it's interesting, um, to see how this play out. It could be one of these where we have a doji and we flush for the next 4 or 5 days. It could be one of these, right? We have a doji and we flush for an extended amount of days, or it could be one of these where we just like doji and then we're like, oh, forget it, we're not reversing, we'll just go back up. But I think everything is possible here, so very interesting to see how things play out. Um, if we want to see more downside, we would need to see a low of the day compared to today's low. So as long as we close under today's low, then we'll probably be bearish. If we close above today's close, then we could go back bullish again. It's all based on the closing. But who's to say the market makers don't want to mess up and play around with that again? Right? So hope this helps. This was a much longer video than I anticipated. Um, there was a lot of deep dives there. There was a lot of major levels. Oh, let's look at major levels for tomorrow actually. So for tomorrow, I would say in order for it to go bullish again, we need to go above 64.15 in order to get bullish. And then other than that, I would say we remain bullish as long as we are under this 64.03 level. So unless we come back and we claim it back somehow, which I don't think we could, but I could be wrong. So there's a chance we could come back here and test it, but I think we're going to reject. If we do pass it over, then we got to chop in this range and break over this and use this as support. That's how support resistance work. But now at this point, I'm leaning bearish again. I'm expecting us to reject this area. We'll drag this line a little bit further. And I think this line, if we push into tomorrow, we could have a double resistance here at that line. So good luck. Hopefully, you guys have a better trading day than me tomorrow, and have a great day and great night.